All right, going back to continuing the discussion on the finance bill, talking about the reforms now. Joining us from our Abuja studio is an economist and a PDP member, Dr. Kach Ononuju, and the chairman of the Buhari Media Organization, Mr. Niyi Akinsiju. We'd like to thank you both for joining us at this time. Let me start with you, Mr. Akinsiju. So the Senate has passed the finance bill, but 2 days before that, a public hearing where stakeholders were objected to some provisions of the bill. One was that it was necessary, or rather there needed to be machinery to set in motion so that, they can grow the economy. And another was by Senator Soswam, who said that, it would be like a shock to the people. I mean, these were some of the objections that were raised. Well, what's your reaction to that?
Well, thank you very much. What is obvious in all these arguments, especially from the other side, and of course from the class of what I call the moneyed class, and even the elites, it's shedding crocodile tears, on behalf of the Nigerian vulnerable. Because in fact and in truth, what this bill had done is to create equity, between the moneyed class and, of course, the Nigerian vulnerable. In the first instance, there's a long list of exemptions, and to a large extent, what this particular VAT amendment bill talks to is exemption of basic food items and basic needs, that the Nigerian vulnerable use. So it's actually targeted at the moneyed class and, of course, the elites, as it were. So when this set of people are complaining, they are complaining for themselves, not for the poor people. And of course, like in your opening report, you noted that the finance bill is actually a portfolio of 7 tax-related acts, amendment of 7 tax-related acts, inclusive of Capital Gain Act and, of course, the Company Income Tax.
Mr. Akinsiju, we need to go on a break now, if I may. I do apologize. We'll come back and continue this discussion, and we'll continue our discussions with our guest, an economist, PDP member, Dr. Kach Ononuju, and chairman of the Buhari Media Organization, Mr. Niyi Akinsiju. Let's quickly come to you, Mr. Dr. Ononuju, and that is, what are your fears of this financial bill on tax reforms becoming law?
Well, I fear for the country. We have borrowed more in the past 3 years than we have borrowed in 30 years. And we have reused a lot of those borrowings to apply to recurrent expenditure. And if you look at it, we've also used some of that, which we are getting right now, up to 2/3 of what we actually earn to service debt, external debt. What we're servicing are the interest on the debt. So where is the money that we're borrowing that is not going into capital expenditure? Now, because we've borrowed so much externally for consumption with no capital expenditure, that's why you're seeing that same trend is the reason. The borrowing outlets are closing. That's why you see the sudden attempt to now grip the local population. No matter how the stories are, the people do not react or reply with facts. What they reply are opinions and rhetorics. We are going deep down. This same general consumption tax, you see that is now being brought upon the population. Anything you pass on to a company, that company will pass it on in their final production costs to the local poor people when they sell their products. So don't let nobody tell you these things are just targeted at the rich. It's not true. You're targeted as a company, as a big man. When the cost comes down, he puts the total cost of his product to the poor. And what that does is you see an expansion in the cost of products as an expansion in inflation. We're not going anywhere. We just have a budget produced by accountants. There are no economists in government. We've just employed economists the other day, and instead of waiting for them to give us a blueprint, no. What you're seeing is just a strategy to tax and spend. And Look at what we're doing. We have a nominal growth since the economy become recessed under the current government. It's been growing nominally at about 2% per annum. And our population is growing at about 3.6 to 3.8%. So you have a double growth in population than you have in the economy. Why do we have this? The government's embrace of a policy of nepotism, not the best have been allowed to actually contribute their own ideas to our growth and advancement.
Let's find out from Mr. Akisuju. Let him respond. You've said a number of things. I mean, Mr. Akisuju, how do you defend all of that? It's coming from him and a few critics of the finance bill.
This is the most obfuscating statements I've heard in recent times. I can't imagine where my friend here is manufacturing his figures. We know, as a matter of fact, that between 2011 and 2015, their government, the PTP government, generated a loan portfolio of up to 15 trillion naira, 2015. So, and the portfolio of loan, as it were, currently is about 27 trillion naira. So how come you've generated the largest, threshold of loan in the last 3 years? It's impossible. And of course, it keeps talking about this VAT thing. And I'm saying, if you just need to read the VAT bill, of course, most of these people will talk without even reading. The VAT bill had exempted 90 million, more than 90 million vulnerable Nigerians. And of course, more important, I am a financial and investment analyst. And I also know that by the bill of the capital, company income tax, companies which are classified as micro and small size companies in Nigeria are absolutely exempted from paying tax by the new amendment to the company income tax. And you are talking about, of course, the capital gain tax. It also means that where an employee had lost his job, or for whatever reason, he has been moving out of his job, and his emolument is up to 10 million naira, between 0 and 10 million naira, unlike before, no percentage of tax would be imposed on that sum. And that is talking to moderation, it's talking to equity, And of course, again, in the matter of company income tax, companies that are 25 million, that generate 25 million naira, and between 25 million naira and 100 million naira per year, they've also reduced the tax they will pay from the nominal 30% to 20%. So only the large size companies from 100 million and above will pay the nominal 30% tax.
All right.
These are rebates and concessions, and these are what we'll be talking about, really,
Finally, Mr. Ononuju, let's go back to Mr. Ononuju. I mean, seeing as, the defense is for and against, but this is something that was initiated by the presidency, and we've seen that the Senate has passed it. It's most likely to become law. What other options, would you say we have as it stands now? Briefly, if you can.
Well, as it is right now, the economy is being recessed. And the reasons why it's been resourced is a lack of application of real quality hands from across the country, because the embrace of nepotism has been a mainstay of the current administration. So that's why we do not get the very best to run our country. Secondly, as I stated earlier, it is not my saying, it is a fact. We've been applying up to 60 to 70% of all this money is being collected on servicing of debt, servicing the interest on debt, not actually paying back the debt. So, and a lot of the things that we borrow, we have been putting them on recurrent expenditure. Where is the thing? There is no monetary expansion in the economy. That's why you're seeing these contractions.
This is definitely something we'll keep talking about. I wish we had more time. I do apologize. We would like to thank you, Dr. Kachi Ononuju, and also you, Mr. Niyi Akisuju. Thank you both for talking to us at this time. We're out of time.